Hi, I'm Miranda, and I am your Enchantress of Avalon, taking you on a journey into lands mystical and into Avalon. And this is part two of Rhiannon. I went over her story and briefly over the second part of her story, which again breaks off really awkwardly in my first video. Right now, I realized I wasn't done because there's a lot of stuff. Oh, my cat's here. Hi, this is Harlow. She's my cat. She might pop into videos occasionally. In any case, she Rhiannon, I still wanted to go over some stuff about her. And that is stuff that is both sacred to her and associated with her. I mentioned her association with horses, and I mentioned her association with with the number seven, due to 7 years, this being a very important time frame for her and her story. What I didn't get to mention was a really important factor, which is the Adar Rhiannon, or the birds of Rhiannon. They are magical birds that Rhiannon has, and they are able to lull the living to sleep and raise the dead. So this is what gains her aspect as a goddess of death, which she is, as well as being a goddess of the living and a goddess of fairy and a fairy queen and a sovereignty goddess. She's a goddess of death as well. And as most fairy queens and fairy goddesses are, because in order to be associated with fairy, you're associated with dead. Because fairy, other than being a land of magic, lands of enchantment, and a land where the faithful live, it is also a land of the dead. Just like all the other lands of the dead, dead go there. So it's a very interesting place where you have these living fae beings and you have these, the dead, the ghosts. So we see this a lot in Celtic lands. There's a lot of Celtic lands of fairy, and they're all associated to some extent with dead, as well as with the fae. Just wanted to touch upon that. She is also associated with dreams, and this, I think, is a large part because, again, the Ardarianan are said to be able to lull the living to sleep, which can mean lull them into death, but it could also mean literally lulling them to sleep. So she's able to, in this way, inspire dreams and impact dreams, and she has almost a muse-like quality in this. And I feel that from her, because I feel her as very ethereal and very powerful. She's intense and powerful, incredibly so, but she's also very ethereal. And I personally see her as a moon goddess, a lunar goddess. Some I know associate her with the sun. I feel the lunar pole personally, and that's what I associate her as. So yes, she's also a moon goddess, as again the majority of the Welsh Celtic goddesses, when we're talking Avalonian tradition, they're pretty much all moon goddesses in a certain extent. Because Avalon, where Rhiannon is associated with Avalon, that's one of the lands of fairy, that's Avalonian, mystical land. And she's in most Avalonian traditions to some extent. Just like Morgan Le Fay is. You have to have Morgan if you're going to have Avalon. Well, you should have Rhiannon as well. And Rhiannon is associated with this place of Avalon. Avalon is a place of, it's a twilight realm. It's this place of magic and mystery and feminine mystery. So the association with the moon is quite intense and quite obvious, as well as associations with, apples. It's the Isle of Apples. So we get the moon association with Rhiannon in that way. Other associations, the color white, obviously, because she is from fairy, and fairy is also often associated with white. Gold, because she's in the beginning of her story, she's said to be wrapped in gold. Sadly, puppies are said to be associated with Rhiannon because of her story of puppy blood. Puppy killed, puppy blood. That's a sad association. Don't really like it. The Adar Rhiannon, obviously her birds are associated with her, and they are songbirds. So music is a heavy association of Rhiannon, which means, the fact that Stevie Nicks wrote a song about her was perfectly in line with this, because she has these magical songbirds. They are musical birds. And there's had to be a lot of different birds. I theorize that they could be starlings personally. That's one of my theories. But there's a lot of them. Like, they could be a lot of different birds. I like to imagine them as starlings because I just think it's fitting for whatever reason. And when I see starlings, I get a very heavy Rhiannon vibe from them. Just like when I see crows, I get a Morgan Le Fay vibe. Crows and ravens are Morgan Le Fay, and starlings are Rhiannon. That's what I feel with these birds when I encounter them. So, yeah, you'll have this. People could argue she's associated with any of the elements. You got a lot of people saying, oh, there's association with earth because she's a sovereignty goddess. There's an association with air because of the birds. Since there is the Avalonian connection, you could also argue water. And if you look at her as a sun goddess, you could argue fire. So she could be associated with any of the elements, which is really cool. And at the end of the day, Rhiannon is a true great goddess, and that means she encompasses just so much. And there's so much of her to you can pick apart things. And I think it's interesting because she also has associations with love and with sexuality. And in fact, there are Avalonian traditions that particularly associate her as a goddess of love. And love is forever present in her story in every way, shape, and form. You know, she loves Pool and marries him. Her love of her son is what helps her get through, knowing that she didn't kill him and he's out there somewhere. Her love of her son is what helps get her through when she's being having to go through punishment and being seen as this terrible person. She knows she's not. And she has that perseverance and the ability to hold her head high and to say, no, I will take this punishment. I don't deserve it though. But she's not gonna rage or cry or make a fool of herself. She's gonna take a breath and move forward because she has nerves of steel. No matter what she goes through, she's always able to make it through. And she's so powerful and a great protectress. I've always associated her with being a protective figure because of this ability she has inherently to be okay, even when the situation is not. She is okay and able to continue on. So she's an absolutely beautiful figure. She's depicted in many different ways, often depicted riding a horse, often depicted with red hair. I've seen a lot of depictions of her with red hair of all different shades. I've also seen depictions of her as blonde. You occasionally get her as a brunette. Like I've seen pictures of her as a brunette. But I usually go with her having redder hair. Something about just that inner fire, the strength of will, and the fact that, yeah, she's willing to say, yeah, I'm going to come up with this scheme to make sure I don't marry the man that I don't love. I want to marry a man I love. And she schemes to get her, and she, schemes a little bit. She's a little naughty, but for a good reason. And that, again, ties in with the love and sexuality aspect of it. She's a goddess that's a lot of times people that are drawn to her are ones that have been victimized in some way in the past. And she can help you get over trauma. She's great at helping you work through trauma because she went through trauma herself. And that's why her story is so inspirational. She's gone through trauma and come out the other end unscathed, or seemingly unscathed. Not totally, of course. She's just an incredible goddess to work with in day-to-day life. She's strong and steel-boned, but also caring and comforting and very, very ethereal. Her energy is intense, but unlike Morgan, it's not intense in this kind of torrents of water way where like you feel like you're going to be pulled into the current of the, storm that's riling up. you feel more that you are going to be comforted, and she's more ethereal, less, I guess, less grounded is a way to look at it. Where Morgan is like physically grounded, like you could almost reach out and touch her. Rhiannon, you can to a certain extent, but she's more ethereal and her feeling is more ethereal. So I just wanted to note the differences, but I definitely look at them as being interconnected. Certainly both Avalonian goddesses and, you know, sister goddesses, even. So, which I am lucky to have studied and be studying with different people about this. And I've had people also say that they have this same iteration of them being very similar in that way. Because I've been studying for quite a while Avalonian mystery traditions, so obviously that's why I'm the Enchantress of Avalon. That's why I'm running this particular channel. And yeah, it's great. I'm very happy to be able to share this with everyone. And I hope that you've enjoyed this video. And let me know what you think about Rhiannon and her story, or about symbols of Rhiannon. If there's anything that I didn't mention that you feel is connected with her, let me know in the comments. Please, I'm happy to start discussions. So I hope you all have a fantastic week. Again, thank you for joining me. My name is Miranda. I have been in your Enchantress of Avalon, taking you on a magical and mystical journey to Avalon. And if you want more about Rhiannon, there's a lot of articles, a lot of blog posts about her on my blog, whiteroseofavalon.life. So please pop on over there and read about her. And if you want to ever be able to communicate with me live, I stream live on Mondays and Fridays in evenings, about 7 on Monday and about 8 on Friday, on twitch.tv. So have a great weekend. See you next Sunday.